What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my Ascended Ishtar Banner review and builds guide. So Ascended Ishtar is a blue infantry mage with Thunder's Mjolnir as her preferred weapon. This is basically a conditional brave weapon that can also give her -1 special cooldown and +6 attack and speed during the combat. It also has a tempo skill built into it, which means that she can nullify any kind of guard effects and also bypass any kind of skills of the opponent which charge up their specials. And then the brave effect is given to Ishtar only if she's got 10 or more speed than the opponent. So with the tempo skill built into this weapon, it means that she can trigger Luna on her brave hit, and that can definitely help her be a really good nuke. But unfortunately, Deflect Magic Sacred Seal has been quite common on a lot of far save tanks, especially after we got Ninja Korin in Hero Rises Banner. There's also been Winter Lysithea. So against those Deflect Magic opponents, even her Luna hit is not going to be able to kill them because the damage is going to get reduced. Unlike Tine, she cannot really pierce through the damage reduction, and she's naturally going to be having a hard time against Hardy Fighter, Deflect Magic, Far Save Armor units like many of the mages do, but still she can function as a pretty strong nuke because of this weapon. And even if she does not really seem that insane at the moment and she's not really that much game changing, she can still improve in future if we ever get a special for mages that can pierce through the damage reduction, similar to Lethality and Deadeye. Because she's got a brave weapon, she's really offensively oriented, with that 41 base attack having a super boon in it and also having 43 base speed. Unfortunately, she doesn't really get the speed super boon, and speed is really important stat for Ishtar because she wants to be faster than the opponent by 10 points, and this is gonna be easy against these slow opponents, but against a lot of the fast opponents that we see nowadays, they have insane amounts of speed stacked up on them with their base kit alone. So outspeeding them and meeting this speed check against them is going to be the biggest challenge that Ishtar has to face. Keep in mind that she's an Ascended unit, so for free you can use the Ascended asset on her, and you can easily do that for her speed as it is really important. She doesn't really come with any kind of new skill like the past Ascended units have introduced, so for fodder she does provide you with pretty decent stuff in Life and Death and also Tine Builds. For building her up, her base kit is pretty fine actually. You can run Blade Session Sacred Seal so that you can maximize her damage output, and like I said, Ascended units do not take any kind of florets, so make sure to get the Ascended asset for free. Phantom Speed is also something that people consider on Ishtar because of her speed check, but I personally like Blade Session a bit more because not only it gives you the extra speed up to +9, but it can also give you +9 attack. And having the extra attack on a brave weapon unit matters a lot because it can be the difference between her dying and killing the opponent with the extra attack. So that's why I personally prefer Blade Session, and I haven't really shown Phantom Speed on any of these builds, but I guess you can use it if you want to, but the extra attack is just really nice in my opinion to have so that you can kill the opponents. And then you can run her with a more expensive slotted skill in Attack Speed Ideal. Life and Death also works out, but you're unnecessarily going to be the target of the chill skills and chill debuffs because you're improving your attack and speed with Life and Death. So that's why I like Attack Speed Ideal a bit more because ideally she does not really want to take damage, and with the brave hits she can just close out the combats by triggering her Luna. So that's why it gives you the most amount of speed and attack, so I like it a lot on higher investment. And lull speed resistance works fine on her because she doesn't really have the bulk of running null follow-up because a lot of times she's not going to be able to survive the counterattack of the enemy. And in summoner duels she could be used actually with Scion Leif. That's one of the game modes where you can easily use the Harmonic skills and the duo skills unlike Aether offense. So with Scion Leif you can immediately give her the instant desperation so she can quad attack the enemies from full health after using the Harmonic skill, and it can also boost up her offenses a bit because of the Resonance Blades effect. If you want to use her for the in-game content with an AoE build, then that's definitely possible with Special Spiral. With the tempo skill she's always going to be having her special pre-charged, and with the -1 special cooldown of her weapon, she can just spam AoE specials for clearing a lot of the abyssal maps and chain challenges with like 3 dancers. This is not something that is needed, but still an option. She can still be quite destructive with her base kit, but with an AoE build it can help you against some of the insanely inflated enemies who have got very high HP in abyssal maps. If you want to use her in Ether Raid's offense, then she could function as a pretty nice Gale Force setup unit with a double Fury build, and by having less than 56 HP, you can fall into the Wings of Mercy range into combats, and then your Dancers and Gale Force allies can just teleport. So with having the magical damage and being a really strong nuke, Ishtar can pretty much open the way by destroying the frontliners and even destroying some of the far save opponents that the enemy might have. The thing is that you'll have to speed stack a lot on her so that she can get the brave hits consistently, especially in Ether Raid's offense against the faster far save units. But unfortunately, if she faces Hardy Fighter, Deflect Magic, far save opponents, then it is going to be really hard for her to set up that Gale Force. So she definitely has her shortcomings, but if you love Ishtar and if you want to use her in Ether Raid's offense, then this could be one of the ways. And she's a lot better in Ether Raid's defense than offense, I would say, and she can run a Unity skill so that if people are running Elamine with Sabotage Attack or Plumeria with Sabotage Speed, you don't really get affected that much. So it's definitely something that you can do to optimize, but still you can just run Life and Death. I kind of like her a bit more in the Anima season because people are not going to be running Ear and Peony like they do in the Light season to stack up speed and resistance. But then again, you'll have to face Elamine in the Anima season, who does bring that damage reduction with her. So again, in a way, they are going to be bulky, but many times Ishtar is going to be strong enough to blow through a lot of the far save tanks. And then finally, at the max investment, you can run B-Dual Infantry 4 to use her in Arena. And then you can run her with Speed Resistance Menace so that she can have better damage output, and against the crazy fast opponents in Arena, she has a better time getting her Brave effect. And Ruptured Sky as it is going to be triggered on her Brave hit, so she doesn't really need Tine Builds with that special in Arena. Tine is a colorless infantry mage, and I feel like she's just as much of the star of this banner because of her preferred weapon, Thunderer Tome. So this gives her -1 special cooldown, and it does have a better Time Pulse built into it. So better Time Pulse pretty much means that even if she's not at her maximum special cooldown count, she can still get the special charges from turns 1, 2, 3. And this kind of works like Kanas's Weapon Refined, but then after turn 3, she can still get the special charges from this weapon provided that she's not at full HP. So that's why skills like Fury 4, Attack Speed Push 4 are going to be having good synergy with Tine. She can also get +6 attack and speed during the combat, and when her special triggers, she can get +7 true damage and neutralizes any kind of damage reduction skills which are based on percentage, like Close Call, Repel, Dragon Wall, and things of those nature. Keep in mind that even though she can pierce through the damage reduction, she can not only bypass the flat damage reduction provided by the defensive specials like Aegis with Hardy Fighter, or like Negating Fang, Ice Mirror, and also the Spring Maria's weapon. So all of those are going to be the sources of flat damage reduction, which are going to be annoying for Tine, but all of the other damage reduction skills, she can just blow through them with this weapon and her special. She's got amazing base 42 attack and base 42 speed, which makes her into a really strong nuke, especially combining with her colorless tome, because she's going to be having a neutral matchup across the board except against the Raven tomes, and this allows her to be a really strong nuke who can not only pre-charge her special using her weapon and also by combining Time Pulse, but can also pierce through the damage reduction skills and hit extremely hard. Now, of course, she's going to be having trouble against the meta far save opponents who run Hardy Fighter and run Aegis, because Tine is not going to be able to pierce through that damage reduction, and she's going to be dying against those opponents. But still, against any of the other opponents, she's going to be having a lot of potential of nuking them, and can also work out in Ether Raid's defense, especially on a Katria Ball team. She also comes with a new skill in Blue Feud 3, and I feel like this is pretty much one of the more meta Feud skills because it is relevant because of Ascended Idun and Brave Hector being extremely common far save tanks. Not to mention Nifl is also used sometimes as a support unit, so Blue Feud can help you. Just as a recap, Blue Feud can debuff Brave Hector, for example, to -4 to all of his stats, and also disables any kind of external support that he's going to be getting. So it's kind of like Impenetrable Dark of Bramimon, but only against a certain color. So here, even though Flame is a colorless unit, she's not going to be able to provide support to Brave Hector because he is a blue unit and he's facing Blue Feud Tine. Similarly, if she's facing Ascended Fiarm and Fiarm is being supported by Nifl, Blue Feud is going to be able to remove the support of Nifl because Nifl here is the blue unit. So hope this can bring you up to the speed, and Blue Feud is going to be one of these skills which are going to be seeing a lot more in the higher echelons of gameplay, in Summoner Duels, in Aether Raid's defense, and in those things, because people are going to be trying to prepare their team against the Plus and Merge, Brave Hectors, and Ascended Iduns, and I feel like pretty much the best users of it are going to be the units who can deal a bit better with them. The best one in my opinion is going to be Newer Dagger. Not only she's really good in Summoner Duels and a meta unit, but she can also be useful in Aether Raid's defense, so you can get a lot more out of your investment. Pirate Hanoka is also pretty good in Summoner Duels, obviously not to the degree of Duo Dagger, but still she does excel at taking care of the blue units because of her Mermaid Bow. And combine this with Blue Feud and she's going to be having even better time against those opponents. Ninja Korin could also be run with Blue Feud, but keep in mind that against a lot of heavily invested Brave Hector and Ascended Idun, especially if they have Mythic or Legendary Blessings, Ninja Korin can still miss out on the kill, but overall she's going to be having a better time, especially if they're getting some kind of damage reduction or some kind of external support. So Duo Dagger is pretty much going to be the best user of this, and then the other units who are strong and can work against the blue units can also use this skill. As for building up Tine, you can just run her base kit with a 2 cooldown special like Moonbow or Glimmer so that you can pre-charge it with her weapon, and even if you're not running Tine Builds, you can still have the consistent pre-charge special at start of a turn, so this can allow you to hit really hard. And it's pretty nice on a budget to run these kinds of specials, but obviously if you're willing to invest into her, then Tine Builds is easily one of the best Lotsy skills that you can run on Tine, because it will stack up with the special cooldown that she gets from her weapon, and this can allow you to pre-charge 3 cooldown specials like Luna, Draconic Aura, and things of those nature, so she can hit even harder with these higher cooldown specials, and a more offensive skill like Attack Speed Push 4 can help you get more offensive throughput. Tine, because of being able to pierce through the damage reduction, is going to be a really strong unit to be used in Aether Raid's defense, where she can be run on a Brattle Catria team so that she can get the brave hits and pretty much become like Ascended Ishtar, but also get the damage reduction piercing effect from her weapon. She could be run with a pre-charged Luna because a lot of times the tanks are going to be having some kind of guard effect, either with the stand skill or one of these slot-based skills like Crafty Fighter or Special Fighter. So this allows you to pretty much nuke them really hard without really worrying about guard. She could also run a Special Spiral AoE build with Fury 4 and then Fury Sacred Seal, but the thing is that she doesn't really get the true damage or the damage reduction piercing when using the AoE specials. Her weapon explicitly states that, but still if you just want to use her like a colorless Ophelia, then she could be used with a Special Spiral build. Even though I've not really showcased this in this section, it's still an option. Finally, at max investment, she could be run in Arena with Sea Duel Infantry 4 and function with Ruptured Sky, and again she doesn't really need to run Tine Builds because of the better Tine Builds present in her weapon, and Ruptured Sky ends up being a really strong special for Arena usage, especially against the Dragon and the Beast opponents. Speed Resistance Menace could be a fun skill that she could get from her brother to be used in Arena. Scathach is the 4-star demote unit of this banner, and he's a sword infantry unit without a preferred weapon and without a preferred special. So he definitely got massacred, and being a sword infantry unit, he does have some insane competition, even in the free-to-play pool where we do have Yenfei. But compared to the typical fast sword infantry unit, Scathach is a lot more tanky, so he does have base 42 attack with a super boon and base 43 defense, and his speed is not the highest, so he's going to be one of the slower sword infantry units. He does have Spirited Sword Plus, which is basically a non-seasonal version of Pledge Blade Plus, and this just gives you special cooldown on foes' attacks. So it's not the greatest weapon because we do have Steady Breath Sacred Seal available, and usually you can just run a better weapon that can give you a different effect. He also has Attack Defense Ideal 3 at 5-star, so this could be helpful if you're trying to fodder off Legendary Male Byleth, and you can also snag the Lull skill or the Tine Builds out of that fodder. For his budget build, you can just run Quick Riposte in his slot B, and slow infantry units don't really have too many options other than Quick Riposte for getting the auto follow up in the enemy phase, and you can just run Attack Defense Form as the Sacred Seal because he's going to be getting these special charges from his weapon. And Spirited Sword is fine on a budget, but if you're going to be investing heavily into him, then you can definitely try and replace his weapon. Slaying Edge is actually a pretty decent budget weapon that you can run with Bonfire, and by running Steady Breath you can just retaliate back with Bonfires, which are going to be doing a lot of damage at this kind of max investment with his high defense. And Sturdy Stance 3 is a really good slotty skill for him because he's gonna get doubled a lot, and the guard effect can definitely help you tank a lot of units. And then Slot C is kind of flexible. You can run an expensive joint drive skill or just run attack smoke. The unfortunate part of having no preferred sword is the fact that there are not too many easily available and good swords that you can run. Unbound Blade is locked to a 5-star unit. Winter Rapier is present on Manuela. There's no Plagian version of a sword, so you can pretty much run Steadfast Sword from Tanith and run this kind of enemy phase build with Ignis and Steady Breath. Ignis is going to be doing a lot more damage, but you're going to be triggering that on your follow-up attack compared to the Slaying Edge build where you can just retaliate back with Bonfires. At max investment, you can run him as a distant counter tank, and you can run Unbound Blade because it does have the Lull skill built into it, and it can also debuff the attack of the opponent, which can pretty much give you a better magical bulk. He also has a resistant super boon, so if you're going to be using some florets on him, then this could be an option that you can ascend, and with Distant Stance and Warding Breath, he can actually have a pretty good resistance in the enemy phase, along with being really tanky on the physical side as well. He can also run a more creative Ninja Katana build. Now obviously Scathach is not really the fastest, but if you want to invest into a speed, the Ninja Katana is one of the ways, and he does have a really good attack stat, so he can hit extremely hard and quad attack with this weapon, and also trigger Surge Sparrow to heal himself up by using Luna. So this is a player phase build if you care about stacking up the speed of Scathach. And if you want to stack up his speed so that he can function in both phases, then Rain Sword Plus could be an option from 5-star Galzis, and with this build he can basically get over 60 speed. So again, an option at max investment if you're trying to stack up his speed. And then finally, in the competitive game modes, he's not going to be that unique, and he's mostly going to be facing competition from other units. Like for Arena, a lot of people are going to be choosing to run Yanfei instead of running Scathach. And Scathach could, again, just run a distant counter build for Arena so that he can have better flexibility and take on a lot of different opponents, and even the range opponents with his bulk. Unlike Yanfei, he doesn't have a preferred weapon, so that's why you have to run a 300 SP Slotty skill so that he can get the max scoring. And with this build and his high attack stat, he's going to be triggering Ruptured Sky and retaliating back with it, and hopefully getting a lot of one-shots. Arthur is a green infantry mage, and unfortunately he's locked to 5-star even though he doesn't really have a preferred weapon, but he does have some really good fodder in the Grand Vulture Tome and also Speed Resistance Menace. And overall, Arthur as a unit himself is actually pretty viable with his offensive stat spread. It's just that he's going to be facing the constant competition from the preferred weapon green mages like Legendary Male Pilot, for example, who can just hit much harder and just stand out because of their preferred weapon. So mostly people who are big fans of him are going to be investing into him. Kinda wish that he was a Green Mage Cavalier. And his Grand Vulture Tome is basically a non-seasonal version of the Plagian Torch Plus. It is a Plagian weapon, so it does want the attack and resistance debuff. His Speed Resistance Menace does give him the resistance debuff, so you can probably just run him with an ally who has got Sabotage Attack, or maybe who's running Temari Dagger so that he can get those attack debuffs and then make the full use out of this Vulture Tome. This could also be a really good weapon if you're going to be foddering this off to units like Sorin or any other green mage who doesn't really have the best preferred weapon or doesn't have a preferred weapon to begin with, and this is going to be one of the better inheritable options for the green tomes. Speed Resistance Menace is a really good skill for any kind of fast offensive mage or any kind of magical unit. Even for dragons, this could be a good skill because they can get more out of their dragon wall by using the resistance debuff. You can also get the ideal skill at the same time if you do fodder off a 5-star Muriel, so he's going to be a top tier fodder because of the ideal skill and the menace skill present on him, and also the Vulture Tome, which is going to be quite coveted for many of the green mages. As for his builds, on budget you can just run attack defense link so that he can fully buff himself up with the help of the menace skill and the link skill. Attack speed solo does work out as a sacred seal on these kinds of Vulture Tome weapons because they already have the solo condition, and the solo sacred seal does work in both phases as well, unlike Blade Session. You can also invest into him a bit more by either running Lull Speed Resistance or by running Null Follow Up in his slot B. These are going to be the two main options for him, and obviously I do prefer having Null Follow Up a lot more because there are going to be many units with follow up negation weapons, so overall the Null Follow Up skill can help you win those matchups, and Lull Speed Resistance is mainly for hitting a lot harder. And finally, if you do plus and merge him, then he could be used in Arena with G-Dual Infantry 4, and he can just run Attack Resistance Menace just so that he can get the full use out of the Vulture Tome on his own. and he doesn't really have to rely on any kind of ally to give him the attack debuff if he was running Speed Resistance Menace. Obviously this is only for the max investment, and we're gonna be debuffing the attack of the opponent by quite a lot, so you could still run Ruptured Sky, but the damage output is gonna be lowered, so Blue Flame could also be an option for an expensive special. So that's gonna be my banner review of the Ascended Ishtar Banner. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, and if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more Fae videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as disappointing as Scathach not having his preferred weapon and his preferred special. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.